Kindergarten teacher Maya Brooks agrees to one blind date, never expecting to fall for Daniel Ashford, a billionaire hiding his true identity. As their worlds collide, they must navigate his disapproving family, her fierce independence, and the press watching their every move. Can two people from entirely different backgrounds find a love worth fighting for? Before we get into the story, comment below where in the world you are watching from today. Maya Brooks stared at her reflection in the bathroom mirror of Bella's Italian restaurant and sighed. Why had she let her best friend Jen talk her into another blind date? The last three had been complete disasters. One talked about his ex-girlfriend all night, another checked sports scores on his phone every 5 minutes, and the third, well, she didn't even want to think about that one. Just give it a chance, she told herself, smoothing down her simple black dress. At 35, Maya was tired of the dating scene, but she wasn't ready to give up on love either. Her phone buzzed with a text from Jen. "How's it going?" "Is he there yet?" Maya texted back quickly. "No sign of him. If he doesn't show in 15 minutes, I'm ordering a pizza and going home." She tucked her phone into her purse and headed back to her table. The restaurant was busy for a Thursday night, filled with the gentle buzz of conversation and the clinking of glasses. Maya took a sip of her water and checked her watch again. "Excuse me, are you Maya?" She looked up to see a tall man with warm brown eyes and a hesitant smile. He wore a simple, button-down shirt and dark jeans, nothing flashy, but he wore them well. "Yes, I'm Maya," she replied, feeling suddenly self-conscious. "I'm Daniel Ashford. I'm so sorry I'm late. Traffic was terrible." He extended his hand and she shook it, noticing how firm yet gentle his grip was. "That's okay. I was just about to order a whole pizza for myself, so you saved me from that carb overload." Maya surprised herself with the easy joke. Daniel laughed, a genuine laugh that made the corners of his eyes crinkle. "Well, I'd hate to deprive you. We could still split one if you want." As he sat down across from her, Maya felt herself relax. A little. There was something about Daniel that seemed real. Unlike the other men Jen had set her up with, he didn't immediately start talking about himself or his job or his car. "So, Jen tells me you're a kindergarten teacher," Daniel said. After they'd ordered their drinks, a glass of red wine for her, a club soda for him, Maya nodded. "Going on 10 years now. Every day is different, usually covered in glitter and finger paint, but I love it." "That's amazing," Daniel said, and he sounded like he meant it. "It takes someone special to shape young minds." "What about you?" Maya asked. "What do you do?" Daniel hesitated for just a second. "I work in business management. Nothing exciting, really. Do you like it?" Her question seemed to surprise him. "No one's asked me that in a long time," he admitted. "Parts of it, yes. I like solving problems and working with good people, but the politics and pressure, not so much." As the evening went on, Maya found herself genuinely enjoying Daniel's company. He listened, really listened, when she talked. About her students, her small apartment that she'd decorated herself, and even her cat Pickles, who had a habit of stealing socks. "You know, I wasn't expecting to have such a good time tonight," Maya confessed over dessert, a tiramisu they decided to share. Daniel smiled, and there was something vulnerable in his expression. "Neither was I. Usually these dinners are awkward, painful, an exercise in checking your watch under the table." Maya finished for him. "Exactly." Daniel laughed again, and Maya decided she liked the sound of it. "But this has been different." "You're different, Maya." The way he said her name made her chest feel warm. Was this what Jen had been talking about when she insisted there was still someone out there for her? When the check came, Daniel reached for it before Maya could even offer to split it. "Please let me," he said. "It's been the best evening I've had in longer than I can remember." Outside the restaurant, the October air was crisp, and Maya wrapped her cardigan tighter around herself. "Can I call you a cab?" Daniel asked. "Actually, I drove," Maya replied, gesturing vaguely toward the parking lot. "What about you?" "I have a car. Waiting," he said, then seemed to catch himself. "I mean, I called a car service. Would you like a ride to your car?" Maya was about to decline. She never got into cars with men she'd just met, even ones as seemingly nice as Daniel, when a sleek, Blacktown car pulled up to the curb. The driver stepped out and nodded at Daniel. "Mr. Ashford." Daniel winced slightly. "Thanks, Tom. Just give us a minute." Maya looked at Daniel with new curiosity. A car service with a driver who knew him by name? "Business management must pay pretty well," she said lightly. Daniel ran a hand through his hair, looking uncomfortable for the first time all night. "Maya, there's something I should tell you." But before he could continue, a group of people exited the restaurant and a woman gasped loudly. "Oh my God, that's Daniel Ashford. Daniel Ashford III. Daniel closed his eyes briefly as if bracing himself. "The Daniel Ashford? The billionaire?" another voice said. Maya felt like the ground was shifting beneath her feet. "Billionaire?" She looked at Daniel, his expensive watch, which she had assumed was a good knockoff, his perfectly tailored, simple clothes, the waiting car. "You're not just in business management, are you?" she asked quietly. Daniel looked at her, his eyes pleading. "Maya, I can explain. I just wanted one night where someone saw me, not my family name or my bank account." The group from the restaurant had pulled out their phones and were taking pictures. The driver, Tom, stepped forward protectively. "Sir, we should go." Daniel didn't move. "Maya, please, come with me. Let me explain properly, away from all this." Maya felt dizzy. Her quiet evening with a seemingly normal guy had turned into something from a movie. "I don't know, Daniel. I don't even know who you really are." "Yes, you do," he insisted. "Everything I told you about myself was true. I just left out the parts that usually make people treat me differently." Maya looked at his waiting car, at the people still staring and whispering, then back at Daniel's face, the same face that had laughed with her and listened to her stories about finger-painting disasters and Pickles the sock thief. "1 hour, she said finally. "You get 1 hour to explain." Relief washed over Daniel's face. "Thank you," he said simply, opening the car door for her. As she slid into the luxurious leather seat, Maya wondered what she was getting herself into. The car pulled away from the curb, leaving the Gawkers behind. "Where are we going?" Maya asked, noticing they weren't heading toward the parking lot where her old Honda was parked. "Somewhere quiet where we can talk," Daniel said. "I know a place. By the waterfront. If that's okay?" Maya nodded, still trying to process this revelation. Daniel Ashford III. Even she, who barely kept up with business news, recognized the name. The Ashford family owned one of the largest investment firms in the country, with holdings in everything from real estate to technology. And she'd just spent the evening sharing tiramisu with the heir to it all. "I should have told you," Daniel said, breaking the silence. "But then tonight wouldn't have happened." "You don't know that," Maya replied. "I do know that, because it's never happened before." There was such sadness in his voice that Maya couldn't help but feel for him, despite her confusion and the sense of betrayal creeping in. The car turned into a small secluded area with a view of the harbor. Tom parked and discreetly stepped out, giving them privacy. "I've never met anyone like you, Maya," Daniel said, turning to face her. "When Jen described you, I thought this would be just another setup my sister arranged to get me out there again." "Wait, Jen knows your sister?" Daniel nodded. "Angela Ashford. They met at a charity function for the Children's Hospital last year. When Angela heard Jen had a friend who was genuine and down to earth, she immediately wanted to set us up." Maya's head was spinning. Her best friend had set her up with a billionaire and hadn't thought to mention that minor detail. "And Jen agreed not to tell me who you were?" "I asked her not to. I wanted, just once, to meet someone who didn't see the dollar signs first." Daniel looked out at the water, moonlight reflecting on the gentle waves. "Do you know what it's like to always wonder if people like you for who you are or what you can give them?" Despite herself, Maya felt a pang of sympathy. "No, I can't say that I do. Every relationship I've had has been tainted by it. My last girlfriend, when we broke up, she was more upset about losing access to the family jet than losing me." Maya couldn't imagine caring more about luxury than the person she loved. "That's awful, but Daniel, lying to me wasn't the solution." "You're right," he admitted. I liked the way you looked at me, like I was just a guy, not a bank account." The way he said it, with such raw honesty, made Maya's heart ache a little. She thought about how he'd listened to her stories all night, how he'd seemed genuinely interested in her modest life. "So what now?" she asked. "You've had your normal evening. Mystery solved. I'm just a kindergarten teacher with a sock-stealing cat." Daniel turned to her, his eyes serious. "Now I'd like to ask you to dinner again, but this time with all my cards on the table. Daniel, we live in different worlds, do we? You teach children to be kind, to share, to grow. I run a company that, at its heart, is about helping businesses grow. Is that so different?" Maya couldn't help but smile at his optimism. "I think there are a few zeros different in our bank accounts. Money doesn't define me, Maya. At least I don't want it to." A crisp breeze came off the water and Maya shivered. Without hesitation, Daniel removed his jacket and draped it over her shoulders. The gesture was so simple, so thoughtful, just like he'd been all evening. "Let me take you back to your car," he said softly. "And if you decide you never want to see me again, I'll understand. But I hope you'll give me a chance to show you that tonight, the real conversation, the connection we had." That wasn't a lie. As they drove back to the restaurant parking lot, Maya was quiet, lost in thought. This evening had turned out nothing like she'd expected. Her simple blind date had become complicated in ways she couldn't have imagined. When they reached her car, Daniel walked her to the driver's side door. "Thank you for tonight, Maya, whatever you decide." Maya looked up at him. Billionaire or not, there was something in his eyes that seemed genuine, almost vulnerable. "I need some time to think," she said honestly. Daniel nodded. "Of course." He took a business card from his wallet and wrote something on the back. "My personal number, not my assistant's, not my office, just me." As she took the card, their fingers brushed, and Maya felt that same spark she'd felt when they shook hands hours earlier. "Good night, Daniel," she said, unlocking her car. "Good night, Maya." She drove away, watching him stand there in her rearview mirror until she turned the corner. Her phone buzzed with a text from Jen. "So, how was it?" Maya shook her head, not even knowing where to begin. Her quiet life had just collided with a world of wealth and privilege she'd never imagined entering. And despite everything, she couldn't deny that she'd felt something real with Daniel, but was it enough to bridge their two different worlds? When Maya got home, Pickles greeted her with a meow and promptly dropped a stolen sock at her feet. "At least you're honest about your thieving ways," she told the cat, bending down to scratch behind his ears. She kicked off her shoes and sat on her small couch, Daniel's card still in her hand. Turning it over, she read what he'd written. "Just, Daniel, promise." Despite herself, she smiled. Then she picked up her phone and texted Jen, "We need to talk now." Across town in his penthouse apartment, Daniel stood at the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city lights. For the first time in years, he'd connected with someone who saw him as just a man, not a fortune. And now that she knew the truth, he might have lost her. His phone rang and he saw his sister's name on the screen. "Angela," he answered. "So, how was the date with Jen's friend?" his sister asked eagerly. Daniel watched a plane's lights cross the night sky and thought of Maya's smile, her honesty, the way she'd looked at him before she knew who he was. "I think I just met the most real person in my life," he said quietly. "And I might have ruined it before it even began." "Oh, Danny," Angela sighed. "What did you do?" As he explained the evening to his sister, Daniel made a decision. If Maya gave him another chance, he wouldn't waste it. He'd show her that the man she'd met tonight, the one who laughed at her jokes and cared about her stories, that was the real Daniel Ashford, with or without the billions. Now he just had to hope she'd believe him. Maya paced back and forth in her living room, while Jen sat on the couch, looking both guilty and excited. "I can't believe you." "Didn't tell me," Maya said for the third time. "A billionaire, Jen, not just rich, but one of the wealthiest men in the country. If I'd told you, would you have gone?" Jen asked, already knowing the answer. Maya stopped pacing. "Of course not. I would have assumed it was a joke or that he was some entitled jerk looking for a novelty date with a regular person." "Exactly," Jen said triumphantly. "And you would have missed out. From the way you described your evening before the big reveal, you two really hit it off." Maya sank down onto the couch beside her friend. "That's not the point. He lied to me." He omitted. "There's a difference." Jen picked up Pickles, who had jumped into her lap. He didn't make up a fake job or pretend to be someone else. He just simplified. To manipulate me into liking him, Maya argued, or to see if you'd like him without his bank account getting in the way. Jen gave her a pointed look. Which, by the way, you did. Maya couldn't deny it. She had enjoyed Daniel's company more than any date in recent memory. He had been attentive, funny, and surprisingly down-to-earth. But that was before she knew the truth. It's not just about the money, Maya said, more quietly now. It's about our lives. He runs billion-dollar companies. I teach 5-year-olds how to tie their shoes and write their names. What could we possibly have in common long-term? You won't know unless you give it a chance. Jen set pickles down and stood up. Look, Angela told me Daniel hasn't been on a real date in over a year. Everyone wants something from him. But when she told him about you, someone genuine with no connection to his world, he was interested. Great, so I'm a curiosity. A glimpse into how the other half lives. Or maybe he's just a man who connected with a woman, and the rest is noise. Jen headed for the door. Call him or don't, but ask yourself this. If he told you up front who he was, would you have given him a fair chance? After Jen left, Maya pulled Daniel's card from her purse and stared at his handwritten number. Just Daniel, promise. Was it possible for someone with his wealth and status to be just Daniel? Could she be just Maya to him, without her modest lifestyle becoming a source of fascination or worse, pity? She didn't call him that night, or the next day. But on Saturday morning, as she was grading papers at her favorite coffee shop, her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Maya, it's Daniel. I hope it's okay that I got your number from Jen. I understand if you don't want to talk, but I'd like to explain properly. No fancy restaurants, no cars with drivers, just me. Maya stared at the message, her coffee cooling beside her. Part of her wanted to ignore it, to return to her uncomplicated life, but another part, the part that had laughed with him over dinner, that had felt that unexpected connection, made her type a response. Coffee shop on the corner of Maple and 5th. I'm here now if you want to talk. She pressed send before she could change her mind, then immediately regretted it. She wasn't prepared to see him. Her hair was in a messy bun, she wore no makeup, and her old jeans and sweater were a far cry from the dress she'd worn to dinner. 20 minutes later, just as she had convinced herself he wouldn't show up, the bell over the door jingled. Daniel walked in wearing jeans, a simple grey sweater, and a baseball cap pulled low over his eyes. He scanned the room, and when his gaze landed on Maya, his face lit up with a smile that made her heart skip. You came, she said as he approached. Her table. Of course I did. He gestured to the empty chair across from her. May I? Maya nodded, suddenly nervous. In the daylight, without the soft lighting of the restaurant, Daniel was even more handsome, and that didn't help her resolve to keep things strictly platonic. Thank you for meeting me, he said after ordering a black coffee from the waitress. I know I didn't make the best second impression. First impressions matter, Maya replied, and your first impression was based on a partial truth. Daniel accepted this with a nod. You're right, and I'm sorry. I'm not going to make excuses, but I would like to explain. The waitress brought his coffee, and Daniel thanked her with a warm smile that made the young woman blush. Maya noticed how he seemed completely unaware of the effect he had on people. I've been Daniel Ashford III all my life, he began after the waitress left. My grandfather built the company from nothing. My father expanded it, and now I'm supposed to take it to the next level, whatever that means. Sounds like a lot of pressure, Maya admitted. It is, but that's not why I didn't tell you about my background. Daniel looked down at his coffee. The thing is, when people know who I am, they change. They either want something from me or they assume I'm not interested in their lives because they seem small in comparison to mine. And you wanted to see if I'd treat you differently, Maya finished for him. Yes, and you didn't. You talked to me like a person, not a portfolio. You told me about your students and your cat and your apartment, and you actually wanted to know if I liked my job. Daniel leaned forward. Do you know how rare that is? Despite herself, Maya felt her resolve weakening. I can imagine it must be hard to know who to trust. It is. The last woman I dated, Victoria, we were together for almost a year. I thought maybe she was the one. Then I overheard her on the phone with a friend, laughing about how she'd never have to worry about money again. His expression darkened. She'd already picked out which of my family's vacation homes she wanted to use for our honeymoon, and I hadn't even proposed. That's awful, Maya said, genuinely sympathetic. But Daniel, lying to me wasn't the solution. I know. And the irony is, by trying to avoid one mistake, I made another. He reached across the table but stopped short of touching her hand. I'm not asking you to forget what happened. I'm asking for a chance to start over, with complete honesty this time. Maya looked at him, really looked at him. Without the fancy restaurant and expensive clothes, he was still the same man who had made her laugh, who had listened intently to her stories about her students, who had seemed to care about her simple life. I don't know, Daniel. Our worlds are so different. They don't have to be separate worlds, he argued gently. They can overlap. I'd like to see your classroom sometime, meet Pickles, maybe help you hang some shelves in that apartment you've been decorating. The mental image of billionaire Daniel Ashford wielding a hammer in her tiny apartment almost made Maya laugh. And what about your world? Private jets and galas and board meetings? Those things are part of my life, yes, but they're not who I am. Daniel took a deep breath. Look, I'm not asking you to change or to fit into some mold. I'm just asking for a chance to see if what we felt that night was real. Maya was silent, for a long moment, thinking. She had felt something with Daniel, something she hadn't felt in a long time. Was she willing to give that up because his life was complicated in ways hers wasn't? One condition, she said finally. No more secrets. No more simplifying. Daniel's face broke into a relieved smile. Absolutely. Complete transparency. And we take it slow, Maya added. Really slow. Glacial, Daniel agreed, still smiling. We can start with a proper tour of the city, all the places tourists never see. I bet there are corners of this town you know that I've never experienced. Deal. Maya found herself returning his smile. But I'm driving. My car. So your chariot awaits, Daniel said with a small bow of his head. Though I should warn you, my security team might have a heart attack. Maya's smile faltered. Security team? Part of the package, I'm afraid. But they're discreet. You'll hardly notice them. Maya was about to protest when her phone rang. It was the school principal, Mrs. Gonzalez. Maya, I hate to call you on a weekend, but we have a situation with the fundraiser for the new playground equipment. Our main donor just pulled out, and we're $15,000 short with the event just 2 weeks away. Maya listened, her heart sinking. The playground equipment was desperately needed, and the children had been excited about the new swings and climbing structure. I understand, Mrs. Gonzalez. Let me think about what we can do. She hung up and sighed. Problem? Daniel asked. Maya hesitated, then remembered their agreement about transparency. The school fundraiser just lost its main donor. Without that money, we won't be able to replace the playground equipment, which is practically falling apart. Daniel's eyes lit up. I can help with that. One call and... No, Maya said firmly. That's exactly what I don't want. Daniel looked confused. But I have the means to help. And that's great. But I need to know that I'm not with you for your money or what you can do for me. Maya gathered her papers. The school will figure something out, we always do. Daniel seemed to be processing this, a new respect dawning in his eyes. Okay, but if you change your mind, you'll be the first to know, Maya promised. She stood up. Now, are you ready for the authentic Maya Brooks City tour? Prepare to see some very non-touristy spots. As they left the coffee shop together, Maya was aware of a black SUV that pulled out behind them, keeping a discreet distance. Daniel's security, no doubt. This new reality would take some getting used to. Their day together was surprisingly normal, despite the shadow of the security team. Maya showed Daniel her favorite bookstore, a hidden garden in the middle of the city, and a hole-in-the-wall taco place where the owner greeted her by name. Miguel, this is my friend Daniel, she said, deliberately avoiding his last name. The old man shook Daniel's hand warmly. Any friend of Maya's is family here. Sit, sit. I'll bring you my special. As they ate the best tacos Daniel had ever tasted, he watched Maya chat with Miguel in Spanish, laughing at something the old man said. You speak Spanish? Daniel asked when Miguel went back to the kitchen. Maya nodded. Many of my students are from Spanish-speaking families. It helps to be able to communicate with them and their parents. You're full of surprises, Maya Brooks. So, are you Daniel Ashford? I didn't expect a billionaire to be so normal. Daniel grinned. I try. After lunch, they walked through a small park where a group of Maya's former students recognized her and ran over, hugging her legs and talking. All at once. Miss Brooks, are you coming to the playground thing? Mum says they're going to build a new one. Maya knelt down to their level. I hope so, sweetie. We're working on it. The children noticed Daniel standing beside her. Is that your boyfriend, Miss Brooks? A little girl asked, giggling. Maya blushed. This is my friend Daniel. He's really tall, another child observed solemnly. Daniel crouched down to their height. Now I'm not so tall, am I? The children laughed, and soon Daniel was involved in an impromptu game of tag while Maya watched, a smile playing on her lips. Seeing him run around with the kids, his designer shoes getting scuffed in the dirt, his deep laugh echoing across the playground, Maya felt something shift inside her. Later, as the sun began to set, they sat on a bench overlooking the river. Thank you for today, Daniel said quietly, for showing me your world. It's nothing special, Maya replied. That's where you're wrong. Daniel turned to look at her. The way Miguel treats you like family, how those kids lit up when they saw you. That's what real wealth looks like, Maya. The sincerity in his voice touched her. Maybe there was more to Daniel Ashford than his family name and fortune. Maybe there was a chance for them after all. So what happens now? She asked. Now I'd like to take you to dinner. A real second date. No secrets this time. Before Maya could answer, her phone buzzed with another call from Mrs. Gonzalez. I'm sorry, I need to take this, she said, standing up and walking a few paces away. Maya, we've had another donor pull out, her principal said, sounding stressed. I don't know how we're going to make this work. As Maya listened to the growing problems with the fundraiser, she noticed Daniel had stepped away too, speaking quietly into his own phone. When they both finished their calls, there was a new tension in the air. Everything okay? Daniel asked. Not really. The fundraiser is falling apart. And you? Daniel hesitated. Family business. Nothing that can't wait. Maya sensed there was more to it, but she didn't press. I should get home. I have lesson plans to finish for Monday. Of course. Daniel walked her back to her car. About that dinner. Let me check. I schedule and get back to you, Maya said, suddenly feeling the weight of their different lives. Her worried about school fundraisers and lesson plans. Him with family business that probably involved millions of dollars. I understand. Daniel looked disappointed, but didn't push. Can I call you tomorrow? Maya nodded, then, on impulse, stood on tiptoe and kissed his cheek. Thank you for today, Daniel. It was real. As she drove away, Maya couldn't help but wonder if real was enough when their lives were so different. Could a kindergarten teacher and a billionaire CEO really find common ground? Meanwhile, Daniel watched her car disappear around the corner, his security team waiting patiently behind him. He touched his cheek where Maya had kissed him, a smile spreading across his face. His phone rang again, his sister Angela. Danny, where have you been? The Tokyo deal is falling apart, and Father is furious that you weren't at the emergency board meeting. Daniel's smile faded. Angela, I can't talk about this now. What's going on with you? Ever since that date with the teacher, her name is Maya, Daniel said firmly, and she's shown me more honesty and integrity in 2 days than I've seen in our entire social circle in years. Angela was quiet for a moment. You really like her, don't you? Yes, Daniel admitted, but our worlds are so different. I don't know if we can make it work. If anyone can figure it out, it's you, Danny. But right now, you need to deal with Father and the board. They're talking about pushing you out if you don't show more commitment. Daniel's jaw tightened. For years, he'd been the perfect son, the responsible heir, putting the company above everything else. But now, for the first time, someone felt more important. Tell them I'll be there in an hour, he said finally. As his driver took him back to Ashford Tower, Daniel made a decision. He wouldn't let his family's expectations or his own wealth come between him and Maya. Somehow, he would find a way to balance both worlds. But as he entered the sleek glass building, where generations of Ashfords had built their empire, Daniel couldn't shake the feeling that choosing between his family legacy and his chance at real happiness might not be so simple after all. Monday. Morning arrived with the usual chaos of 25 kindergartners bursting with weekend stories. Maya moved from table to table, helping little hands with safety scissors and glue sticks. Despite her focus on her students, her mind kept drifting to Daniel. He had called yesterday as promised, and they had talked for over an hour. He'd made her laugh with stories about his first attempts at cooking. The fire department was very understanding and listened intently as she vented about the fundraiser problems. By the end of the call, they had agreed to have dinner at her apartment on Wednesday. Her cooking, her rules. "Miss Brooks, someone's at the door," announced Lily, one of her more observant students. Maya looked up to see Mrs. Gonzalez standing in the doorway with an unfamiliar man in a suit. "Class, please continue your art projects. I'll be right back." Stepping into the hallway, Maya smiled at her principal. "Mrs. Gonzalez, is everything okay?" "More than okay," the older woman beamed. "This is Mr. Harrison from the Carson Foundation. They're interested in helping with our playground fundraiser." The man extended his hand. "Ms. Brooks, your principal tells me you're the heart and soul of this project. We'd like to discuss making a significant contribution." Maya shook his hand, surprised but grateful. "That's wonderful news. The children will be thrilled." "Their board was very impressed with the proposal," Mrs. Gonzalez added. "They reached out to us this morning." Maya felt a twinge of suspicion. The timing seemed too perfect after her conversations with Daniel. "That's quite a coincidence." Mr. Harrison's professional smile didn't waver. "The foundation has a particular interest in underfunded schools. Your project fits our mission perfectly." After he left, promising to send over the paperwork, Maya pulled out her phone and texted Daniel, "Did you have anything to do with the Carson Foundation suddenly wanting to fund our playground?" His response came minutes later. "I may have mentioned your school to someone who mentioned it to someone else. No strings, no Ashford name attached. Promise." Maya stared at the text, conflicted. On one hand, she'd made it clear she didn't want his financial help. On the other hand, the playground wasn't for her. It was for the children. She typed back, "We'll talk about this Wednesday." The rest of the day passed in a blur of alphabet songs and counting games. When the last child had been picked up, Maya sat at her desk, trying to sort through her feelings. Was she being too proud by resisting Daniel's help? Or was she right to establish boundaries early in their relationship? Her phone buzzed with another text from Daniel. "I respect your independence, but helping others is part of who I am too. See you Wednesday. I like garlic, by the way, and chocolate, not together." Despite herself, Maya smiled. Wednesday evening, Maya rushed around her small apartment, straightening pillows and checking on the lasagna in the oven. Pickles watched from his perch on the bookshelf, tail swishing with judgment. "Don't look at me like that," she told the cat. "It's just dinner." The doorbell rang exactly at 7. Maya took a deep breath, smoothed down her casual dress, and opened the door. Daniel stood there holding a bouquet of wildflowers and a bottle of wine. He'd dressed down in jeans and a sweater, though Maya suspected both cost more than her monthly rent. "These reminded me of you," he said, handing her the flowers. Simple but beautiful. Maya felt her cheeks warm as she accepted them. "Thank you." "Come in. It's not what you're used to, I'm sure." Daniel stepped inside, taking in her modest apartment with its mismatched furniture, overflowing bookshelves, and walls covered with framed children's artwork. "It's perfect," he said, and sounded like he meant it. "It feels like a home." "Well, it's my home, Pickles and mine." As if on cue, the cat sauntered over to investigate the visitor. Daniel crouched down, offering his hand to the suspicious feline. "Hello, Pickles, I've heard a lot about you." To Maya's surprise, Pickles sniffed Daniel's fingers, then rubbed against his hand, purring loudly. "Traitor," she muttered. "He usually hides from strangers. I've been told I have a way with difficult personalities." Daniel stood up, grinning. "My CFO is essentially a human version of a grumpy cat." Maya laughed, feeling herself relax. She took the wine to the kitchen, with Daniel following. "Can I help with anything?" he asked. "You can open the wine while..." I finished the salad. They worked side by side in her tiny kitchen, moving around each other with surprising ease. When Daniel reached past her for the wine glasses, his hand brushed her waist, sending a small shiver up her spine. Over dinner, they talked about everything and nothing. Her students' latest antics, a book they'd both read, his childhood dream, of becoming an astronaut. "What stopped you?" Maya asked. "Your family could have afforded to send you to space as a tourist by now." Daniel's expression turned thoughtful. Family expectations mostly. The Ashford heir doesn't get to indulge in personal dreams. The business always comes first. That sounds restrictive. It can be, but it also means I can do a lot of good with the resources I have. Daniel set down his fork. "Which brings me to the Carson Foundation." Maya took a sip of wine. "I knew we'd get to that. Are you angry?" "I'm confused," she admitted. "I told you I didn't want your money, but you found a way to help anyway." Daniel leaned forward. "Maya, I understand your concerns about our different financial situations, but would you have turned down help for your school from anyone else?" "No." "But then why is it different coming in directly from me? The children get their playground, the Ashford name stays out of it, and your pride remains intact." His tone was gentle, not accusatory. "Isn't that a win for everyone?" Put that way, Maya's objections seemed less solid. "I guess I'm worried about setting a pattern. I don't want to be the charity case girlfriend who's always getting bailed out by her rich boyfriend." The word boyfriend hung in the air between them. Daniel's eyes softened. "Is that what I am, your boyfriend?" Maya felt her face flush. "I didn't mean... that was just a figure of speech." "Because I'd like to be," Daniel said quietly. "Your boyfriend." "I mean..." The simple declaration made Maya's heart skip. Before she could respond, her phone rang, the special ringtone she'd assigned to her mother. She glanced at it apologetically. "I should take this. My mom doesn't call this late unless it's important." Daniel nodded, understandingly as she answered. "Mom, is everything okay?" Her mother's voice was tight with worry. "It's your dad. He's in the hospital. They think it might be his heart." Maya felt the blood drain from her face. "Which hospital?" "I'll be right." "There?" When she hung up, Daniel was already on his feet, concern etched across his features. "What's wrong?" "My dad's in the hospital. Possible heart attack." Maya's hands trembled as she grabbed her purse. "I need to go. I'll drive you," Daniel said firmly. "You're too upset to get behind the wheel." Maya didn't argue. Minutes later, they were in Daniel's car, his driver navigating quickly but safely through the evening traffic. Daniel held her hand the entire way, his thumb rubbing soothing circles on her skin. At the hospital, they found Maya's mother in the waiting room, her face pale with worry. "Maya." She stood, embracing her daughter before noticing Daniel hovering behind her. "Oh, I didn't realize you had company." "Mom, this is Daniel. Daniel, my mother, Ellen Brooks." Daniel stepped forward, taking Ellen's hand warmly. "I wish we were meeting under better circumstances, Mrs. Brooks. How is your husband?" "They're still running tests." Ellen glanced between them curiously, but didn't ask questions. The doctor should be out soon. They sat together in the harsh, fluorescent lighting of the waiting room. Maya held her mother's hand, while Daniel quietly made calls, arranging for coffee and sandwiches to be delivered for everyone in the waiting area. When the doctor finally appeared, Maya and her mother stood anxiously. "Mrs. Brooks, your husband is stable. It wasn't a heart attack, but we did find a significant blockage that needs to be addressed. We'd like to schedule him for a procedure as soon as possible." Ellen visibly sagged with relief. "Can we see him?" "Yes. But just for a few minutes, he needs rest." As they followed the doctor, Maya turned to Daniel. "You don't have to stay. This could take hours." "I'm not going anywhere," he said with quiet determination. "Unless you want me to." Maya felt a rush of gratitude. "Thank you." Her father looked smaller somehow in the hospital bed, attached to beeping monitors, but his smile was the same when he saw Maya. "There's my girl," he said, his voice weaker than usual. "Sorry to frighten you." Maya kissed his cheek, blinking, back tears. Don't you dare apologize, you just focus on getting better. After a brief visit, the nurse ushered them out, insisting Mr. Brooks needed rest. In the hallway, Ellen pulled Maya aside. The doctor mentioned the procedure is only partially covered by our insurance. With the deductible and everything else, it's going to be close to $30,000. Maya felt her stomach drop. Don't worry about that now, Mom. We'll figure it out. Your father and I have some savings, but with the house repairs last... Yeah, Ellen looked exhausted. I just don't know where we're going to find that kind of money quickly. Maya hugged her mother. We'll work it out, I promise. When they returned to the waiting area, Daniel was speaking quietly on his phone but hung up when he saw them. How is he? Stable, but he needs a procedure, Maya explained, deliberately not mentioning the financial concerns. Daniel seemed to read something in her expression. Is there anything I can do to help? You've already done so much just being here, Maya assured him, though her mind was racing with calculations about her savings, whether she could take a second job, if she could sell her car. Ellen insisted on staying overnight with her husband, so Daniel drove Maya back to her apartment. They rode in silence for a while, Maya gazing out the window at the city lights. Maya, Daniel said eventually, I know that look. You're worried about more than just your father's health. She considered brushing it off, but remembered their promise of honesty. The procedure he needs, it's expensive. My parents have some savings, but nowhere near enough. Daniel was quiet for a moment. No, Maya said automatically, then sighed. I'm sorry. That's my pride talking again. It's not pride to want to take care of your own family. Daniel reached for her hand. But sometimes letting others help isn't weakness. Says the man who could solve this problem with what probably amounts to pocket change for him, Maya said. Immediately regretting the bitterness in her tone, I'm sorry, that wasn't fair. No, it was honest. Daniel's expression was thoughtful. What if there was a way I could help that wouldn't feel like charity? Maya looked at him warily. What do you mean? I have connections at some of the best hospitals in the country. What if I could get your father into a clinical trial for the latest cardiac procedures? The treatment would be covered, and he'd get state-of-the-art care. Maya hesitated. Would he qualify? I'd have to make some calls, but I think it's possible. And it wouldn't be me paying for anything, just opening a door that might otherwise be closed. It still felt like using his influence, but for her father's health, Maya was willing to bend her principles. If you can find something he qualifies for, then... Yes, thank you. When they reached her apartment, Daniel walked her to the door. Try to get some sleep. I'll make those calls first thing in the morning. Exhausted and emotional, Maya surprised both of them by wrapping her arms around him in a tight hug. Daniel held her close, one hand gently stroking her hair. It's going to be okay, he murmured against the top of her head. Maya looked up at him, struck by the genuine concern in his eyes. Without overthinking it, she rose on tiptoe and pressed her lips to his. The kiss was gentle, a whisper of connection. In the midst of a stressful night, when they pulled apart, Daniel cupped her face with one hand, his thumb brushing her cheek. I've wanted to do that since our first date, he admitted. Even before you knew I was a simple kindergarten teacher, she asked, a hint of vulnerability in her question, especially then. His smile was warm, reassuring. Get some rest, Maya. I'll call you tomorrow with news about the clinical trial. After he left, Maya leaned against her closed door, touched her lips and let out a long breath. Despite the fear for her father, despite the complicated reality of dating someone from such a different world, she couldn't deny that Daniel Ashford was becoming important to her. True to his word, Daniel called the next morning before Maya had even finished her first cup of coffee. Good news, he said, sounding energized despite the early hour. I spoke with Dr. Sharma at Memorial Heart Center. They're running a trial on a new, minimally invasive procedure that's perfect for your father's condition. If he's interested, they can see him today for an evaluation. Maya nearly dropped her phone. Today? Daniel, that's amazing. I can have a car pick up your parents and take them to the appointment. Dr. Sharma is expecting them. I don't know how to thank you, Maya said, her voice thick with emotion. You don't need to thank me. Just let me know how it goes. By that afternoon, Maya's father had been evaluated, accepted into the trial and scheduled for the procedure the following week. The relief on her mother's face was worth any pride Maya might have had to swallow. Over the next few days, Maya and Daniel fell into a new rhythm. He respected her need to focus on her father, sending thoughtful text messages rather than demanding her time. One day, flowers appeared in her classroom with a note that simply read, "Your students said yellow was your favorite color. D." When the day of her father's procedure arrived, Maya was surprised to find Daniel in the waiting room, laptop open as he worked remotely. "You didn't have to come," she said, sitting beside him. He closed his laptop. "I wanted to be here for you." Maya was about to thank him when she noticed a newspaper on the table nearby, its business section featuring a large photo of Daniel with the headline, "Ashford is absent amid crucial merger talks." Following her gaze, Daniel grimaced. "Don't worry about that, but it sounds important. Shouldn't you be at work? Some things are more important than mergers." The simplicity of his statement touched her deeply. Hours later, the doctor emerged with good news. The procedure had been a success. Maya's father would need to rest, but his prognosis was excellent. As they celebrated this news with coffee, in the hospital cafeteria, Daniel's phone rang repeatedly. After the fifth call, he apologized and stepped away to answer. Maya could tell from his tense posture and clipped responses that something was wrong. When he returned, his expression was troubled. "I hate to do this, but I need to go to the office. There's a situation that requires my immediate attention." "Of course," Maya said. "Go, my dad's going to be fine, and that's thanks to you." Daniel hesitated. "There's something else you should know. The board is meeting tonight to discuss my future with the company. My father and some of the other members feel I've been distracted lately." The implication was clear, distracted by her. "Is your job in danger?" "Let's just say I need to make some things very clear to my father and the board." Daniel touched her arm. "This isn't your concern, Maya. I'll handle it." As he prepared to leave, Maya stopped him. "Daniel, I don't want to come between you and your family business." "You're not." His eyes held hers steadily. "But I do need to find a better balance. I've let my father dictate my life for too long." After he left, Maya sat with her mother by her father's bedside, her thoughts torn between gratitude for Daniel's help and worry about the complications she was bringing to his life. "He seems like a good man," her mother said unexpectedly. "You're Daniel." Maya looked up, surprised. "He is, but his world is so different from ours." Ellen Brooks patted her daughter's hand. "Maybe that's not such a bad thing. Your father and I have had a wonderful life, but it's been a struggle at times. If you find someone who cares about you and happens to make life a little easier, there's no shame in that. It's not about the money, Mom, of course it's not. But pretending it doesn't matter at all isn't realistic either." Her mother's gaze was knowing. "Just be honest with yourself about what you really want, sweetheart." That evening, after making sure her father was comfortable and her mother had everything she needed, Maya returned to her apartment. She was feeding Pickles when her phone buzzed with a text from Daniel. "Board meeting over. Need to see you. Can I come by?" Maya quickly responded, "Of course." "Is everything okay? I'll explain when I see you." 30 minutes later, Daniel knocked on her door. When she opened it, she was shocked by his appearance. His tie was loosened, his normally perfect hair disheveled, as if he'd been running his hands through it repeatedly. "What happened?" she asked, ushering him inside. Daniel sank onto her couch, looking more vulnerable than she'd ever seen him. "I just had the fight of my life with my father." In front of the entire board, Maya sat beside him, concern washing over her. "About me. About everything. About how I want to run the company. About my priorities. About my life." He took her hand. "Yes, you came up. My father seems to think you're some kind of gold digger who's distracting me from my responsibilities." Maya flinched. "Oh, I set him straight," Daniel said firmly. "I told him that meeting you has made me reevaluate what's truly important. And that includes how we run Ashford Enterprises. We have the resources to do real good in the world, not just make more money for people who already have too much." "How did that go over?" Maya asked, already guessing the answer. Daniel gave a humorless laugh. About as well as you'd expect. He threatened to have me removed as CEO. I reminded him that I control enough shares to block that move. Daniel, I never wanted to cause problems between you and your family. You didn't. These problems have been there for years. I just never had the courage to address them. He squeezed her hand, but now I do. The determination in his voice was both inspiring and a little frightening. What happens now? Now, Daniel said, meeting her gaze directly. I start making changes, at work and in my personal life, and I was hoping you'd be part of that. Before Maya could respond, Daniel's phone rang. He checked it and frowned. It's my sister, I should take this. Angela's voice was loud enough that Maya could hear it even without speakerphone. Danny, what the hell did you do? Father is furious. He's talking about challenging your position, about bringing in outside investors to dilute your shares. This is serious. Daniel's jaw tightened. He can try, Angela, but we both know he can't force me out without a fight. Is she worth all this? Angela demanded. This teacher you barely know? Daniel glanced at Maya, his expression softening. That's not what this is about, Angie. But to answer your question, yes, I think she might be. After a few more heated exchanges, Daniel hung up. He looked tired but resolute. I'm sorry you had to hear that, he said to Maya. Your sister thinks I'm the problem. Angela loves me, but she's always been more aligned with our father's views, Daniel explained. She'll come around once she sees I'm serious about these changes. Maya stood up, suddenly feeling the weight of everything that had happened over the past few days. Daniel, I think we need to take a step back. Alarm flashed across his face. What do you mean? I mean that in the short time we've known each other, I've already caused tension with your family, put your position at work in jeopardy, and depended on you for a major family crisis. Maya wrapped her arms around herself. That's not a healthy start to a relationship. Daniel stood too, reaching for her hands. Maya, none of that is your fault. The issues with my family and the company have been building for years, and helping your father was my choice, one I'd make again in a heartbeat. Maybe that's true. But I need to be sure that what's happening between us is real, not just a reaction to your family pressure or my gratitude. Maya met his eyes, willing him to understand. I need some time to think. Daniel looked like he wanted to argue, but instead nodded slowly. I understand. For what it's worth, what I feel for you has nothing to do with rebellion or gratitude. It's about who you are. The woman who sees me, not my bank account. As he moved toward the door, Maya felt a pang of doubt. Was she making a mistake? Before he could leave, she caught his arm. Daniel, I'm not saying goodbye, just pause. Let's both take a few days to be sure about what we want. He searched her face, then nodded again. A few days. I can do that. He leaned forward, pressing a gentle kiss to her forehead. But Maya, I already know what I want. After he left, Maya curled up on her couch, Pickles purring beside her. Her feelings for Daniel were growing deeper every day, but the complications that came with him were mounting just as quickly. Could a kindergarten teacher and a billionaire CEO really build a life together? Or were they just delaying the inevitable heartbreak that came from trying to bridge two different worlds? As she drifted off to sleep, Maya couldn't help wondering what price they would both ultimately pay for falling in love. 3 days passed without a word from Daniel. Maya threw herself into her work, spending extra hours at the school and visiting her father at the hospital each evening. He was recovering well, already complaining about the bland food and asking when he could go home. The doctor says maybe tomorrow, Maya told him, arranging the flowers she'd brought in a vase by his bed. But you have to promise to take it easy. I know, her father grumbled good-naturedly. He studied her face. You seem distracted, sweetheart. Everything okay with that young man of yours? Maya busied herself with the flowers. Daniel's not my young man. It's complicated. Because he's rich? Her father asked bluntly. That's part of it. Maya Brooks, I raised you better than to judge someone based on their bank account, he said, his tone gently scolding. It's not that, Dad. Maya sighed, sitting on the edge of the bed. His world comes with expectations, and pressures I never imagined. His family doesn't approve of me. His board of directors thinks I'm a distraction. Every newspaper wants to know about his mystery woman. It's a lot. Her father took her hand. Life is always going to throw complications at you, honey. The question is whether what you're building together is worth working through them. Before Maya could respond, her phone buzzed with a text. She expected it to be Jen, who had been checking in regularly, but instead saw Daniel's name. I've respected your need for space, but I miss you. The school fundraiser is tomorrow night. May I see you there? No pressure, just a chance to talk. Maya stared at the message, a mix of emotions washing over her. She had missed him too, more than she wanted to admit. That him? Her father asked, nodding at her phone. Maya nodded. He wants to see me at the school fundraiser tomorrow. And what do you want? It was a simple question, but one that Maya had been avoiding for days. What did she want? A life of comfort and luxury with a man who made her heart race? Or the simple, predictable existence she'd always known, without the complications that came with Daniel's world? I want to be with him, she admitted quietly. But I'm scared. Her father squeezed her hand. Being scared is okay. Not going after what you want because you're scared. That's where regret comes from. Maya typed a reply. I'll be there. We can talk. The next evening, Maya arrived early at the school gymnasium, which had been transformed with streamers and balloons for the fundraiser. Mrs. Gonzalez greeted her with an excited hug. Maya, have you seen the playground models? The Carson Foundation didn't just meet our goal, they exceeded it. We're getting the deluxe equipment package, plus a special area for the younger children. Maya smiled, genuinely pleased but still wondering how much influence Daniel had exerted behind the scenes. That's wonderful news. As she helped arrange the silent auction items, Maya kept glancing toward the door. The event was scheduled to start at 7, and by 7:30 there was still no sign of Daniel. Jen found her by the punch bowl, looking nervous. Hey, any word from Daniel? Maya shook her head. Not since his text yesterday. I'm sure he'll be here, Jen assured her, though she looked worried too. Angela called me earlier. She said things have been intense at Ashford Enterprises. How intense? Maya asked, concern growing. I don't know the details, but it sounded like some kind of showdown with the board. Maya's stomach knotted. Had Daniel's relationship with her cost him his position? Just as she was about to call him, a commotion at the entrance caught her attention. Daniel walked in, looking tired but determined. He wore a simple suit without a tie, and his normally perfect hair was slightly disheveled. But what made Maya's breath catch was the determined look in his eyes as he scanned the room for her. When their gazes met, everything else seemed to fade away. He moved toward her, weaving through clusters of parents and teachers. You came, Maya said when he reached her. I said I would. Daniel's voice was warm but strained. Sorry I'm late. Things have been eventful. Before Maya could ask what he meant, Mrs. Gonzalez approached them, beaming. Mr. Ashford, what an unexpected honor. We're so grateful for the Carson Foundation's support. Daniel shook her hand politely. The foundation was happy to help. Your school is doing important work. As Mrs. Gonzalez continued to express her gratitude, Maya noticed whispers spreading through the room. People were pointing and staring, some taking pictures with their phones. Daniel, she murmured, everyone's looking at us. Let them. He said simply. Maya, can we talk somewhere private? She led him to her classroom, closing the door behind them. The room looked different in the evening light, the small chairs and colorful artwork creating a stark contrast to Daniel's powerful presence. What's going on? Maya asked. Jen said something about a showdown with your board. Daniel loosened his collar, looking more relaxed now that they were alone. That's putting it mildly. After our last conversation, I did a lot of thinking about what I want from my life and from the company. And what did you decide? That I'm done letting my father's vision dictate my future. There was newfound confidence in his voice. Yesterday, I presented a new direction for Ashford Enterprises to the board, one that emphasizes ethical investments, community development, and sustainable practices. Maya's eyes widened. How did they react? My father was furious. He called A bleeding heart nonsense, and accused me of trying to dismantle his legacy. Daniel's expression hardened briefly. But what he doesn't understand is that I'm trying to build something that will last beyond quarterly profits. Something meaningful. And the board? Maya asked. Split. Some support my vision. Others are loyal to my father. Daniel reached for her hands. But here's the thing, Maya. I realized I don't care either way. If they want to remove me as CEO, so be it. Daniel, no. Your family business is just that. A business. His eyes were steady on hers. What I feel for you is something else. Entirely. Maya's heart raced. What are you saying? I'm saying that these past few days without you have been miserable. I'm saying that walking away from a billion-dollar company would be easier than walking away from what we could have together. Daniel's voice softened. I'm saying I love you, Maya Brooks, kindergarten teacher, cat owner, woman who sees me for who I am, not what I own. The words hung in the air between them. Love. A word neither of them had used before. Daniel, we've only known each other for a few weeks, Maya said, though her heart was singing. And in those weeks, you've made me question everything I thought I knew about myself and what I want from life. He stepped closer. I'm not asking you to say it back. I'm not asking for anything except a chance to see where this goes without letting fear of our differences hold us back. Before Maya could respond, there was a sharp knock at the classroom door. It opened to reveal a tall, distinguished man with silver hair and Daniel's eyes, followed by a striking woman who could only be Angela, Daniel's sister. So, this is where you disappeared to, the man said, his voice cold. In the middle of a crisis, you run off to a school fundraiser. Daniel straightened, his expression hardening. Father, Angela, what are you doing here? Damage control, his father snapped. He glanced dismissively at Maya. So this is the teacher who's turned your head. Hardly seems worth throwing away your birthright. Maya felt herself flush with anger and embarrassment. Daniel stepped slightly in front of her, protectively. Maya, this is my father, Edward Ashford, and my sister Angela. Father Angela, this is Maya Brooks, and I'd appreciate if you spoke to her with respect. Edward Ashford sneered. Respect? While she encourages you to throw away everything our family has built? The Carson Foundation donation was just the beginning, wasn't it? Next you'll be giving away company assets to every sob story with a pretty face. That's enough, Daniel said, his voice dangerously quiet. You've made your position clear at the board meeting. I've made mine. There's nothing more to discuss tonight. There's everything to discuss. Edward's voice rose. The news is breaking. Now, Ashford Enterprises stock dropped 15 points today on rumors of internal conflict. 15 points, Daniel. Millions wiped away because you've been distracted by this. He gestured toward Maya as if she were an object, not a person. She felt her anger rise, but before she could speak, Angela stepped forward. Danny, please, she said, her tone softer than their father's. We need to present a united front. Whatever changes you want to make, we can discuss them as a family. But not like this. Not with the press already speculating. Daniel looked at his sister, some of the tension leaving his shoulders. Angie, I've tried to discuss this with the family for years. No one listened. And I'm not going to pretend everything is fine just to prop up the stock price. What about the people who work for us? Edward demanded. The thousands of employees whose livelihoods depend on Ashford Enterprises. Does their welfare mean nothing compared to your infatuation with this woman? Maya had heard enough. Excuse me, Mr. Ashford, but you don't know anything about me or what your son and I feel for each other. And for the record, I've never asked Daniel for a penny. In fact, I've gone out of my way to make sure money doesn't become an issue between us. Edward. Ashford looked at her as if seeing her for the first time. Young lady, this isn't personal, it's business. My son has responsibilities that go beyond his personal feelings. Maybe that's the problem, Maya replied steadily. Maybe he's been treated like an extension of the business for so long that everyone's forgotten he's a person first. The room fell silent. Angela looked thoughtful while Edward's face flushed with anger. Daniel stared at Maya with something like wonder in his eyes. The tense moment was broken by another knock on the door. Mrs. Gonzalez peeked in, looking anxious. I'm so sorry to interrupt, but there are reporters outside asking for Mr. Ashford. Apparently there's some news about the company. Daniel closed his eyes briefly. I'll handle it. We'll handle it, Edward corrected. Together. As a family. For a long moment, father and son stared at each other, years of unspoken conflict passing between them. Finally, Daniel nodded. As a family. But on my terms. He turned to Maya. I need to deal with this. Wait for me? Maya hesitated, looking at Edward's hostile expression and Angela's calculating one. These people would be in her life if she chose. A future with Daniel. The thought was intimidating. I'll wait, she promised. Anyway, after the Ashfords left, Maya returned to the fundraiser, going through the motions of mingling and helping with the auction items. Her mind, however, was with Daniel, facing the press and his family's disapproval. An hour passed. Then, 2. People began to leave, the fundraiser winding down. Maya helped stack chairs, her hope of Daniel's return fading. He'll be back, Jen said, appearing beside her. He'd be crazy not to come back for you. His family needs him right now. I understand that. Maya tried to sound convincing. Family is important, a new voice said. Maya turned to see Angela Ashford, standing there elegant in her designer dress. But so is happiness. My brother hasn't been happy in a very long time, Ms. Brooks. Not until he met you. Maya was surprised by the softened tone. Your father doesn't see it that way. My father is from a different generation. He equates success with profit margins, not personal fulfillment. Angela studied Maya thoughtfully. Do you love my brother? The direct question caught Maya off guard. We haven't known each other very long. That's not what I asked. Maya took a deep breath. Yes, I think I do. Angela nodded, as if confirming something to herself. Then I suggest you get used to nights like this one. Being an Ashford means sometimes dealing with crises and public scrutiny, but I promise you, if you stick by him, Daniel will be worth it. With that cryptic statement, she turned and walked away, leaving Maya to wonder if she'd just received a warning or a blessing. By the time the last decorations were taken down, Maya was exhausted. Mrs. Gonzalez insisted the fundraiser had been a success despite the commotion, with the silent auction raising additional funds for classroom supplies. You should go home and rest, Maya, the principal said kindly. And don't worry about the reporters. They left hours ago. Outside, the school parking lot was mostly empty. Maya walked to her car, fishing for her keys, when the sound of footsteps made her turn. Daniel approached, his tie completely gone now, his expression unreadable in the dim light. I thought you weren't coming back, Maya said softly. I'll always come back to you. He stopped in front of her. If you'll have me. What happened with the press? We issued a joint statement. My father agreed to support some of my proposed changes if I committed to staying on as CEO and working with the board on implementation timelines. Daniel ran a hand through his hair. It's not perfect, but it's a start. And your father? Still thinks I'm making a mistake with the teacher, Daniel admitted. But Angela surprised me. She told him he was being short-sighted and that you might be the best thing that's happened to the family in years. Maya raised her eyebrows. She said something similar to me earlier. Angela has always been more perceptive than most give her credit for. Daniel took Maya's hands in his. Maya, I meant what I said before we were interrupted. I love you. And I understand if you're not ready to say it back, or if all of this, he gestured vaguely, encompassing the evening's drama, is too much for you. But I had to tell you how I feel. In that moment, despite all the complications, despite the differences in their worlds, Maya knew what she wanted. The past weeks had shown her a side of life she'd never imagined, but more importantly, they'd shown her a man worth taking a chance on. I love you too, she said simply. The smile that broke across Daniel's face was like sunrise. Before she could say another word, he pulled her into his arms and kissed her, not the gentle, hesitant kiss they'd shared before, but one filled with promise and passion. When they finally pulled apart, both breathless, Daniel rested his forehead against hers. Does this mean you'll give us a real chance? No holding back because of our differences. It means I'm willing to try, Maya said honestly. It won't be easy. Your father hates me. The press will probably hound us, and I still don't know if I'll ever be comfortable in your world. Then we'll create our own world, Daniel said. One where I can help children get new playgrounds without hiding behind foundations. And you can teach me how to make mac and cheese without setting off smoke alarms." Maya laughed, feeling lighter than she had in days. "That sounds like a world worth building." "There's something else," Daniel said suddenly, looking nervous. "Something I want to show you. Will you come with me just for the weekend?" "Where?" "It's a surprise." His eyes sparkled with excitement. "Pack a bag. Casual clothes only." "Daniel, I can't just leave. I have school on Monday. And my dad is being released tomorrow morning and your mother has everything under control," Daniel said. "As for school, I already cleared it with Mrs. Gonzalez. She thinks you deserve a break after all your work on the fundraiser." Maya shook her head, amazed at his thoroughness. "You seem very confident that I'd say yes." "Hopeful, not confident," he corrected. "So, will you come?" Looking at his eager expression, Maya found she couldn't refuse. "All right, one weekend. No work talk, no family drama, no press." "Deal." Daniel sealed it with another kiss. "I'll pick you up tomorrow at noon." The next day, Maya was waiting outside her apartment building with a small suitcase when a car pulled up. Not the usual sleek town car with a driver, but a modest SUV with Daniel himself behind the wheel. "You drive?" she teased as he loaded. "Her bag into the back, I know, shocking," he grinned. "But where we're going, I prefer to drive myself." The journey took them out of the city and into the countryside. After 2 hours of comfortable conversation and singing along to the radio, Daniel turned onto a private road that wound through dense trees. "Daniel, where are we going?" Maya asked, for the dozenth time. "Almost there," he promised. The trees opened up to reveal a stunning view of a lake, and situated on its shores was a cabin. Not a rustic shack, but not an ostentatious mansion either. Just a beautiful, well-built home of wood and stone. "What is this place?" Maya asked as they parked. "My grandfather built it before Ashford Enterprises became what it is today," Daniel explained, leading her up the path. "He used to bring my father here fishing, and when I was a boy, my dad brought me too before the business consumed him." He unlocked the door, revealing a cozy interior with comfortable furniture, a stone fireplace, and large windows overlooking the water. "It's beautiful." Maya breathed, taking in the view. "The only place I've ever truly felt at peace," Daniel said. "No staff, no security, no press, just—" He gestured around. "This." "And you wanted to share it with me," Maya realized, touched by the significance. "I wanted you to see a part of my life that isn't about wealth or status." Daniel took her hands. "This cabin is in my name, not the company's. It's probably the only thing I own that's truly mine alone." "Until now," a voice said from the doorway. They turned to see Edward Ashford standing there, his expression unreadable. Daniel tensed. "Father, what are you doing here?" "Angela told me where you'd gone." Edward stepped into the cabin, his eyes moving from Daniel to Maya and back again. "I thought it was time we talked. Really talked." Maya began to back away. "I should give you two some privacy." "No, please stay, Ms. Brooks," Edward said, surprising both of them. "What I have to say concerns you too." An uncomfortable silence filled the room until Edward sighed, suddenly looking older, less imposing. "Daniel, watching you at that press conference yesterday, standing your ground, articulating your vision for the company's future, I saw something I haven't allowed myself to see before." "What's that?" Daniel asked warily. "That you're not just my son anymore. You're your own man." Edward moved to look out at the lake. A better man than I've been, perhaps. Daniel's expression registered shock. "Father." "Let me finish." Edward held up a hand. "I've spent so long focused on building and protecting the Ashford legacy that I forgot why I was doing it in the first place. It was supposed to be for you and Angela, to give you opportunities I never had. But somewhere along the way, the business became more important than your happiness." He turned to face them again. "It took your willingness to walk away from everything, for me to see that I've been wrong. Not about the business, I still believe in what we've built, but about what matters most." Edward's gaze shifted to Maya. "Ms. Brooks, I owe you an apology. I judged you unfairly, assumed the worst about your intentions." "Mr. Ashford," Maya began, "please call me Edward." He smiled slightly. "If you're going to be part of my son's life, we should be on a first-name basis." Daniel looked between his father and Maya, disbelief written across his features. "Are you saying you approve of our relationship?" "I'm saying I'm willing to try," Edward echoed Maya's words from the night before. "Angela seems quite taken with Ms. Brooks with Maya, and I've learned to trust my daughter's judgment." "That's unexpected," Daniel said carefully. Edward chuckled. "Don't look so suspicious, son. Even old dogs can learn new tricks." He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a small box. "This belonged to your grandmother. I thought you might want to have it for whenever the time is right." He handed the box to Daniel, whose eyes widened when he saw its contents. A beautiful vintage diamond ring. "Dad, we're nowhere near—" I know." Edward waved off his concern. "Just keep it. No pressure, no timeline, just a father trying." To make amends in his own clumsy way, he headed for the door, pausing to look back at them. "I won't intrude on your weekend. And Daniel, those changes you propose for the company? Let's discuss them properly next week. I think you might be on to something." After he left, Maya and Daniel stood in stunned silence. "Did that really just happen?" Maya finally asked. "I think it did." Daniel carefully put the ring box on a shelf, well away from them. "For the record, that was not part of my plan for this weekend, and I'm not expecting—" "I know," Maya smiled, relieved. "We're not there yet." "But someday?" Daniel asked, a hint of vulnerability in his question. "Someday," she agreed, moving into his arms. "When we're ready." They spent the weekend hiking around the lake, cooking simple meals together, and talking about everything and nothing. Daniel taught Maya how to fish, and she taught him how to make her grandmother's famous cookies. At night, they sat on the porch swing, watching the stars reflect on the water. On Sunday evening, as they prepared to return to the city, Maya took one last look at the cabin. "Thank you for bringing me here," she said, "for showing me this part of you." Daniel wrapped his arms around her from behind, resting his chin on her shoulder. "Thank you for seeing me, the real me. Not the Ashford heir or the billionaire CEO, just Daniel." Maya turned in his arms, looking up at the man who had walked into her life just weeks ago and changed everything. "Just Daniel is exactly who I fell in love with." As they drove back toward the city, Maya thought about the journey they'd begun. There would be challenges ahead, his world and hers colliding, expectations to navigate, boundaries to establish. But looking at Daniel beside her, humming along to the radio, she knew they would face those challenges together. Their love had taken flight against all odds. Now they would soar. 3 months later, the new playground at Maya's school opened, with a ribbon-cutting ceremony. Daniel stood proudly at Maya's side as her students rushed to explore the colorful equipment. There was no hiding anymore. The press had gotten wind of their relationship weeks ago, and after the initial frenzy, interest had died down to a manageable level. "Miss Brooks, look how high I can swing," one of her students called. Maya smiled. Watching the children play, Daniel's arm tightened around her waist. "Happy?" he asked. "Very," she replied, leaning into him. "Though Pickles is still mad at you for rearranging his favorite sleeping spot when you moved those bookshelves." Daniel laughed. "He'll forgive me eventually, especially once he sees the cat tower I ordered." "Daniel, you're spoiling him." "I like spoiling the things you love." His eyes held a promise for the future, not of wealth or luxury, but of a partnership based on understanding and respect. Maya's phone buzzed with a text from her mother. "Dad got the all clear from the doctor today. Complete recovery. Miracle procedure worked perfectly. When are you and Daniel coming for Sunday dinner?" She showed Daniel the message, and his face lit up with genuine happiness. "That's wonderful news, and please tell your mother I'm looking forward to trying her famous pot roast." From across the playground, Maya spotted Edward and Angela Ashford arriving, looking slightly out of place but making an effort. Edward had surprised everyone by taking a genuine interest in the school, even joining the business advisory board to help with fundraising strategies. "Your family's here," Maya noted. "Our family," Daniel corrected gently. "All of them." Maya followed his gaze to where her parents had also arrived, her father looking healthy and strong again as he chatted with some of the teachers. Two worlds, once separate, now overlapping. Not without bumps and adjustments, but with room for everyone who mattered. Daniel took her hand, kissing it softly. "You know, I never thanked Jen properly for setting us up. According to her, she deserves full credit for our entire relationship," Maya laughed. "She's already planning to give the maid of honor speech at our wedding." Daniel raised an eyebrow. "Is she now?" "Don't panic," Maya teased. "I told her she was getting way ahead of herself." "I'm not panicking," Daniel said, his voice suddenly serious. "Actually, I've been thinking about that ring my father gave me." Maya's heart skipped a beat. "Daniel?" "Not yet," he assured her quickly. "But someday, when we're both ready, no rush, no pressure." Maya stood on tiptoe to kiss him, no longer caring who saw. "Someday," she agreed, "but for now I'm pretty happy with where we are." As children laughed and played around them, as their families mingled cautiously but cordially, Maya and Daniel shared a smile that held the promise of all the days to come, days of challenges and joys, of merging worlds and building something new together. Their love had begun with a blind date and a hidden identity. It had weathered family disapproval, public scrutiny, and the collision of different worlds. And now it was soaring, free and true, into the future they would create together. One day at a time.